you see a common
And
thread with the breast cancer and the emotional trauma?
I will tell you the one common thread, and I hadn't thought about this till you just asked me. Um, but you know what a common thread is, and maybe it's coincidental, but it seems as though that people are people that survive and get through this, they want to give back, right? People that go through cancer, they either want to put it behind them and pretend like it didn't happen or just move on from it, or they want to give back. And until you asked me that question, it didn't hit me. But, I think the people that have gone the longest and have done the most meaningful advocacy and wellness work beyond their own cancer journey are people affected by breast cancer. And I think, um, I'm thinking of two in particular who have been involved with support groups or wellness communities for 10, 15, one of them I think even close to 20 years later. And
Mm.
so I think that um, the definitely the common thread is that the willingness to have longevity with giving back and being part of that community. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think I just did a book I just did a book club for a cancer organization in Alaska, and many of the women in that book club had or were going through breast cancer, and it seemed like a different sense of community than people that go through other types of cancer. They're just maybe a little bit with prostate cancer, but it's just a fraction of what
Mhm.
um, maybe testicular cancer too. There's some cancers that are kind of have a little bit of connectivity, but nothing like breast cancer. And I think that's the one thing that's common.
Well, breast cancer really is a disease of, you know, not nurturing yourself enough and over nurturing other people and taking care of other people. So women can relate to that because we always overgive of ourselves, right? And so
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
when you get that diagnosis, you realize, hey, it's time to take care of me. And you mentioned support groups, and there was an 11-year study done on women with breast cancer, and they found that if they had community support and they learned to manage their stress, they had a 75% decreased risk of dying from breast cancer. So we can
Wow.
see why that
Wow.
community support is so important, which is, part of why we do what we do, to provide community for
Hmm.
those women who need that support. So
But and I believe that study, and it's not hard to, because you've been involved in it and way more in a deeper level than I have been, but it's easy to see how that community involvement. I mean, sometimes I talked to Deborah, one of the book participants, and who had breast cancer and now is part of a wellness community and has been for many years. And she said some people are quick to open up and others are they're just very difficult to open up because when and a lot of people don't want to be a part of that community. Nobody wants to be a part of that community. And then when you're there, you're kind of forced to deal with that reality. And then if you can open up and you can, like make it part of yourself and just allow yourself to give and find a safe space to give,
mhm.
then you can see how it's just something you don't want to let go of. So, um, yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. I'm gonna have to think about that some more.
Yeah, yeah, healing the emotional wounds is just so key. I mean, I've seen women who, they may have similar diagnosis, starting the same program around the same time, and one does they all both do everything right, but one does not go down the path of healing her heart and healing her emotions, still stays in the type A personality driven, workaholic, whereas the other one will take the time to nurture, calm her body, calm her mind, heal forgive herself, forgive others, really
Mhm.
forgive those relationships. And the one over here doesn't survive and the other one does. So I really see there's a huge connection with healing your emotions and survival long term. So
Well, that yes, and but the hardest thing about healing emotions is to admit that they're there in the first place
Yeah.
to yourself.
Hmm.
Once you admit that they're there, then you got to go, oh, am I safe to explore them?
Hmm.
And then you got to go, am I safe to explore them with other people? It's a really tough thing to do. If I could get off topic for 1 second, just
Sure.
to say, just to show you, uh, most people, maybe a lot of people wouldn't find this so fascinating and interesting, but I did. I was running an office with about 100 people in it. And it was during the financial crisis. And unfortunately, one of my employees, it was in the financial services, so it's very stressful, bad time for us. One of my employees killed himself.
Mm.
Super traumatic, super horrible. And I happened to be in New York at the time. I jumped on a plane. I raced back to the office in Southern California, and I didn't know what to do, right? Except for the first thing I had to do was bring in a grief counselor, but that was going to take a day. So I said, well, what better way to help people try to process this? Because I certainly couldn't wrap my brain around it, is to walk into each office and talk to somebody, right? Just say how you feeling and whatever. Now, these are people, Dr. B, that I had known for years. Some of them had gone on vacation with me. Some of them I'd been to their birthday parties, weddings, you name it, right? I knew a lot of these people really well. There wasn't one single person that didn't tell me, oh, this really hit home because, when I was a kid, I had an uncle that killed himself. It just This really hit home because when I was younger, a family member here or there, or, oh my gosh, just a couple of years ago, my daughter's friend at school, and every single person.
Oh.
And I went to myself, how am I just finding this out like right now? Like, why? Because we don't want to talk about trauma,
Mhm.
especially things that are so heavy and so emotional. And
Mhm.
I just finished the day going, oh my God, like literally every single person was dealing with the emotional effects of this, not just because of what they felt for him and for his wife and kids and just for humanity in general, but because it had brought up traumas that they had all each had gone through, but yet hadn't dealt with.